and hello and welcome. We are the Aussie guys. I'm AJ. Here with me is looks like he's asleep. And
dude, I'm just texting, mate, because we took so long. I've got to get back to a few people. So you just carry on.
All right, no worries. Yeah. And Ben, who's birthday boy this week. I tell you who else.
The big 4-0. The big 4-0.
Yes. I tell you who else has a birthday this week. Another favourite of the pod.
There was
Mr. Kyle Pitts has a birthday this week.
Oh, Kyle Pitts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not Kyle August. No, I don't know when his birthday is. Kyle Pitts.
No, he had a birthday this. No, he had a birthday this week as well.
Did he?
Was it this week? Well, yeah, I think it was Monday.
Oh wow! Okay, there you go.
I actually rang him and sang him happy birthday.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow.
What threw me off was when you said favourite of the pod, and I thought, well, it can't be Kyle, so.
No. Well, I actually asked him to come on because we're week 4. I thought if we get 4 on for week 4, and I pretty much got the emoji finger back. So
yeah, okay. Hard no.
Hard no. But happy birthday, Ben, for the when was it?
Monday. Yeah,
Monday.
So maybe me and Kyle are birthday buddies.
You might be too.
Maybe.
There you go.
So I don't think he's 40 though. I'm not going to go that far and say that he's 40. I think he's a lot younger than that.
46.
He's got that baby face, mate. He's going to look exactly the same when he's 50.
He's still got the baby hair as well.
He's still got the
baby hair.
He won't be listening. 7 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning over there. He'll be fast asleep.
Well, listen, week 4 NFL action did kick off Thursday night football, which was a more entertaining game than I will give it, than I initially gave it credit for. And I must confess that of all the NFL games that I had watched, I had not watched a whole lot of Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jags. But I must say the Bengals were impressive. Joe Burrow looks great. I think that receiving core, obviously they didn't have T. Higgins this week, but that receiving core could be, and this is not controversial at all, but I think could be one of the best receiving cores in the league. If you say Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. One of the best receiving, and CJ Uzomah.
Oh, our boy. Uzomah.
Who's making a push for tight end 1?
Just like Mike Williams, he's taking the whole contract year in a serious way, isn't he? Amazing.
Definitely.
But
money talks.
Yes, a few things that are worthy of talking about. If we just leave the Bengals to one side, I mean, the Jags are now 0-4. And did they say that that's the first time Urban Meyer's ever been 0-4? Something like that. That's a possibility.
And it's also Trevor Lawrence. What he lost? He only lost. Was it 4 games in his whole collegiate career, and now he's lost 4 in his first 4 games in the NFL. So,
and I think the Jags are now 17 losses in a row. I think.
Really?
Going back to last year, obviously. But yeah.
Well, okay. Like if you look at the week prior, they just fell apart. Once the momentum, they lost the momentum. They fell apart, and they didn't fall apart as much in this game because they scored. You know, they had that comeback touchdown, and after the Bengals had scored 2, but I've got to go back and really look at the game. Hopefully they used to have what they call like the coach's film, where it shows you from the back looking down the field, and I want to go back and have a look at Trevor Lawrence, and just from what you can see from just watching the replay, his receivers aren't doing enough for him. It was actually the first week they actually caught the football, which was good to see because they've dropped so many easy balls, Marquise Brown style.
week.
just mate, just no idea. It's just he probably just had one of those days. He had one of those days, and it happens to everybody, no matter what sport you play. But they don't seem to get open. They don't seem to keep he's extending plays, and he's got no one to throw it to. Like, if you extend the play, there's no way a corner can cover you that long. Someone has to get open. I don't know what the offense is doing through Urban Meyer, because I don't know enough about coaching, and I don't know enough about how they scheme up the plays and all that. I'll be honest there. But it just looks
two things there.
terrible.
One, it looks like DJ Chark's out for the year, so that's a bad loss, because he's a good dynamic playmaker. But the other thing was, I think Meyer, he'd already done a design run to get Lawrence into the end zone, QB. So, and then they had that 4th and 1, pretty much on the goal line, right? Pretty much just before the half, and he calls another design run for Lawrence, and they stuff it. And that's the kind of play that in college you get away with, right? You get away with it because the defenses can't handle it, and you go to your best guys. But you can't do that in the NFL. That's where you've got to come up with something different. And the game. They came away with no points,
Yeah, and you got James Robinson running amok.
Yeah.
Mate, you're 1 yard out. Just give it to James Robinson. He's got the power.
Yeah.
But it's just I don't know like I said, I don't know enough about the offensive play calling and the way it's all been schemed up, mate. But it's just I don't think that Urban Meyer is helping Lawrence at all, and I don't even know if Lawrence is helping himself. Like, he's holding on that football a long time now. Whether or not it's the fact that no one's getting open, or the fact that he's not pulling the trigger as quick as he could, and he definitely can't do that behind that offensive line that they've got. He doesn't have that time.
No. And funny enough, me and G, we had a conversation, I think, midweek about how actually are any of these rookie QBs getting coached. I think Matt Jones is. I think he's the only one, because you can see he's sticking to a game plan. But the others, I mean, it looks like they're just, out for themselves, and they have to be, right, because they're not getting the direction. So, I mean, Fields last week, that was probably the most embarrassing offensive performance you've seen from any team, and that's not his fault. You cannot blame him for that. So, I think what we saw last night, this morning was yesterday, wasn't it? Was just two quarterbacks who were playing their natural game. Burrow was a little bit more careful because he's learned, and Lawrence is still a gunslinger for the majority of the game. So I don't know. It's hard to evaluate, I think, both of these offenses when, I mean, neither defense could really play yesterday. I mean, they were terrible. Both defenses. The Bengals were okay in stages, but their secondary was awful, and they can't. Neither quarterback was really pressured, and so what can you say?
Yeah, I think, like, from what I've seen from the quarterbacks so far, the rookies, is that you're going to have to give them that year two to start to work out whether or not they're going to be NFL quality, because you can't base it on this year. No. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of teams going back and doing what Arizona did after taking a first round quarterback this year, and we have no idea what Trey Lance is. So he could be one that we don't see until the second half of the year. So who knows? But it was a good week. Week 3 was a good slate of games. There's some players that I think we'll talk about when we go through this today that probably very much in the last season, especially at quarterback, if not in the last couple of weeks of their foreseeable future. So, but anyway, anything
what
else?
we're doing, G?
Yes.
Maybe you better explain it, because if
Okay.
Ken or I do it, it'll be different.
Well, I think Ben's pretty much on the same page. You, on the other hand, I'm less confident in. So what we're doing this week is week 4.
Yes.
So I think you posted what week 4. I went through. I should have had it ready on my phone, but I did look up what does the numeral 4 represent. So what I found, and there's probably a whole heap of different meanings for the word 4. There probably is, but what I found is the numerology number 4 is a number of focus, a focus on building a secure foundation for the future.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, so how can we integrate that into what we want to talk about? So I just thought, okay, let's just foundation. Let's have a draft. And the reason we're doing the draft, I got asked through the week why we're doing drafts. A draft allows, we're going to do a draft. Well, we do a draft every week. So I don't know how that's changed. This is week 4. We've done 3. We're just going to keep rolling because what happens if we just came and say, hey, Ben, give me 3 foundational teams that are foundationally set on the offense. Mate, we'd probably come with the same 3 teams. That's pretty boring, isn't it? But by doing a draft, we have to come up with at least probably 9. If we pick 3 each. So we get to talk about 9 teams instead of the same 3 teams, hence why we do the draft. So it forces us to talk about maybe teams that the foundation's a bit rocky.
Well, thanks for that, Jimmy, because I've been completely in the dark for weeks. So, that's really cleared it up for me. I can understand what we're doing.
Do you understand? Is that the best? Have I explained it the best?
That was great. I mean, I sent that query in as anonymous just because I didn't want to look stupid.
That's good. Okay, so what we're going to do, this is based around fantasy, as always, but also based around the reality of football, is what teams that we think have the best core foundation at the going into the future. I'm not talking about next year or 2 years. I'm talking about 3 or 4 years down the track. So
3 or 4 years.
Well, mate, if you can get a core of players that play together for a substantial amount of time.
Oh boy! All right.
How often is it that you throw something together and it works? You could say Tom Brady last year, but Tom Brady's don't use him because he's an outlier of a football player. He's a freak of nature, okay, and he's done that by every time he holds his hands up, okay. So that's the whole, and he got put in a system where they already had a very nice core of players that were there before he got there. So he had to learn the scheme, and he did eventually. The second half of the year he even said that. It took him a while to get it, but he's a smart guy. I'm thinking,
by that time, G, as well, like we're talking 3 or 4 years, he'll be 3 years into a new 6-year contract. So
yes,
he'll be really, he'll be pretty established.
He's talking 50. I don't know if they'll get past old Butch, and I can't pronounce the last name, but whether she's going to be too keen on that. But that's the core of the show. So of the pod today is we're going to do the draft. We'll do the old. That doesn't look too good on screen, does it? But we'll do a rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first and second. I don't want to go third because I'm really struggling for a 9th team if I'm picking third because foundations start to crumble pretty quickly when you get down to even though 32 teams is as clear as mud, beautiful. I think that's I think that's the best explanation I've done yet, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
The trouble is that 9th team is both the New York teams are already probably gone by then, so it's hard to.
And you got foundational bits, but you need other bits to, you need Rio, you need concrete, you need everything to go together. And some teams just have bits and pieces, but not the whole thing. But we'll soon find out what we all think about the ones that we've chosen. So anyway, we'll do the old paper, rock, scissors. AJ, are you there? You've got your frozen.
Yeah, I'm
you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yep.
You look like you're on delay. Okay, because I don't want you on delay and then cheat. You ever have it?
Hang on a
ready?
second. I think I'm on delay.
1, 2, 3.
Like the post and bloody.
Oh, Ben's out. What did you have, AJ?
It's a rock.
Okay, we both. You and I got rock. Okay, ready? Ready?
I'm a bit laggy
1,
for some reason.
2,
Yep.
3, go. Scissors. Bloody hell! Come on, shit.
All right.
1, 2, 3, go. Okay, you're first.
It's me.
I reckon you're lagging on purpose.
No, I'm not.
You're a cheat.
It is
You never
me.
lived.
All right.
Yeah, Mr.
Twitchy knuckles there. Twitchy knuckles.
Twitchy.
Yep.
I'm lagging. All right.
Lagging.
So you're up first, AJ. So let me just write this down because I screwed it up last week. So we've got AJ at 1, we've got G, and we've got Ben. I just talked about myself in the third person. What a wanker. All right.
Have you said it, G?
All right, AJ. So you're up first, mate. So give us your number one foundational number 42. Yep.
All right. Can you hear me? My picture is lagging my comment.
Tell the kids to get off the devices at home, mate.
that might be the case. There's a number of ways I could go with this first one.
It's easy. I reckon number one rate itself for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I'm going to pick Arizona.
Wow.
I didn't even have them on my list.
Oh, what?
Holy shit. Okay, Arizona.
Yeah. Because we've got a young quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Kyler Murray. Mm-hmm. We have a receiving core that is developing into one of the best receiving cores in the league. Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore, they're kind of playing that on again, off. It's not so good for fantasy, probably. It's hard to pick who's going to be, but they complement each other. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins, the running back core. Chase Edmonds is a really good complement to what they're doing on the offense, but I think a good young developing offense and a coaching staff that's all in sync. Okay,
I look. Oh, so AJ, you're all over the shop tonight, mate. I don't know what's going on with the internet at your joint, but I looked at Arizona and I had to pass because one tight end. There's one position gone. Granted, quarterback and a couple of young wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins is what, 29? So how many years has he got left? I'm thinking probably not 3 or 4, maybe a couple.
That was my fault.
So that at the running back core was like, okay, Chase hit, but not Flash. So, but that's okay. That's your pick.
AJ, I did have them on my list. I probably wouldn't. It wasn't for this pick, but I also need to get undressed because it was going to be my next team, the green and gold of the Oakland Athletics, who Kyler Murray should be playing for right now instead of my NFL. My baseball team missed out on the playoffs again this year, and all thanks to Kyler. But I was going to say the thing what I like about the Cardinals, and you talked about it there, AJ, was it seems like the coaching team know exactly what they want to do, and we've seen progression. And even though I think there is a bit of roster kind of change to come, I think they know the type of player they want. I think they're building the offense around them. Guys like Edmonds, guys like Rondale Moore, not like massive high picks, building foundations. And I think guys like Kirk, who was a second rounder, and more, like those are the guys that you want to then, be wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 because they're hungry, they want to succeed, they want that second contract. So I think that's a good choice, and I like the progression. That's what really stands out to me. I think they are going to be up there with the Rams to win that division. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, so you got one thumbs up and one down, or one sort of sideways.
All right.
Okay, so I'm up. So I thought the first pick would have been a lot easier. But I'm glad that you left this team. But I've got the Bengals. But you've got mate. You got Joe Burrow, who we saw what he did. The comeback and looked fantastic. Threw well over 300 yards and the touchdowns. Ran the ball, couple of sneaks. Yeah, it looks great. The knee looks fine. He doesn't seem to be at all concerned about it. He's only 24 years old. You've got Joe Mixon, who's having his best years to date so far. Okay, he's tweaked his ankle, but we're not looking at just next week. We're looking into the future. He's only 25 years old. We've got a receiving core of T. Higgins at 22. Jamar Chase, who looks phenomenal, 21. Tyler Boyd's only 26. And what another great game from Tyler Boyd. And then I put CJ Uzumana in there. He's 28, but he has had one good game. But that's the only position they sort of lack. And you'd probably be very easily to pick a good tight end up in the draft. Whether there's any available in this year, I don't know. But I'm sure there might be one floating around. I haven't looked at contracts. But outside of that, mate, everything else is absolutely set at all the key positions they need, and they're all young. They're all going to grow together. They've got a future star at the quarterback position. So I just thought the Bengals was just an easy lane was there.
Look, I like the Bengals. I'm worried. I'm worried about the defense. I mean, I know we're talking about for fantasy, but I think that does play a part a little bit. But I also worried about Zach Taylor. I'm not convinced Zach Taylor.
I was going to bring up Zach Taylor, yes.
I'm not convinced he is the guy to, mold Burrow into an elite quarterback. I think they're 3-1 after the victory yesterday, but they should have lost to the Vikings. They scraped by last week, and again, needed a as time expired kick against a pretty sorry Jacksonville team. I just think that there's not enough there for me right now to think slam dunk number one pick here. Don't like the pick; they were on my list, of course. But yeah, I think you just traded some capital up to get Trey Lance there, I think.
So you're saying, like, we're looking into the future. You're saying this is not a very good foundation from what you've seen from T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and we know what Tyler Boyd does. We know what Joe Mixon. Well, Joe Mixon's actually starting to be Joe Mixon. He's only 25. We've seen what Joe Burrow can do. You're saying that's not enough.
I think that there's not enough there. Like last night, like the. This fella agrees with me. He's coming in to argue as well. Look,
she's dog years. What's that? She's about 89 years old tomorrow.
I just think, they've got a lot of high profile sort of guys there, but I just think that they even last night they looked pedestrian at times. That they didn't look like they were moving the ball with urgency. I mean,
the first half looked like they weren't going, but once they got moving, they looked a whole different team.
That's what last year looked like. Like there was some good things with Burrow early, but a lot of it was just let him see what we've got with him. And he was throwing the ball I think he threw the ball 61 times in one game, I think. I don't know. I want to see more of a game plan, and I want to see them go somewhere like Green Bay or San Francisco. I want to see them go and beat a team like that before I can think, this is a team that I'm going to think about for, the next 3 or 4 years. I'm going to see them in a Super Bowl.
Okay. It's also fantasy-wise. Don't forget that aspect of it. They're giving you points, are they not?
And that's why I probably had them on my list here, and I was considering them for like a second-round pick probably, because you can't with Burrow, particularly the wide receiver core. You've got to think, wow, like that. Chase, Boyd, Higgins are set up there to be guys that you could start any three of them any week quite comfortably.
Yeah.
They've also got 63 million in cap space for next year. So think about like that when you're thinking, oh well, the offense is nearly there. They probably need a bit more protection for Burrow. So go out and get another star offensive lineman for that line, and suddenly that production takes another kick as well.
Yeah. All right, so you're up, Ben. You're on the turn here, mate. So you got two.
Well, I'll go. First of all, I'll go with what I thought was a slam dunk number one pick. And I mean, AJ's wearing the damn jersey. Can we talk about the Chargers? I mean, is anybody watching the Chargers right now? Like, we've got Justin Herbert, who has come into the league as, let's face it, the number one quarterback for the last couple of years. I don't even think it's close. Even I would put him ahead of Josh Allen in terms of where his next 4 or 5 years are. His supporting cast there, Austin Eckler's only 26. You can see there that, they've already, I think, signed him to an extension. He's got a few injury sort of concerns, and I think that's something, who's going to be the other running back that emerges there, and they've got a few good options.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
I think Roundtree looks handy, and I think potentially, you're going to get a guy there who will at least step in and, spell Eckler when we can. But yeah, I think that's somewhere that they could improve. And then the wide receivers, we've got obviously Keenan Allen, who is 29, but I mean, they are 100% committed to that guy. I would say that he is now, if he wasn't, for the last 2 years, in a prime that's going to last at least another, 3 or 4 years. So I think that's valid that he's a guy that is always reliable, always on the field, always hustling. Mike Williams, a contract year, obviously, but only 26.
27.
27 this year. They've got 75 million in cap space. So let's just bring him back after this year already, right? Let's just give him the money. No issues there. And they've got their first round pick next year. And the tight end, obviously, Jared Cook's probably a 1 year rental, and they're going to look at maybe improving that position, giving him another weapon. They've also got some sort of handy little guys like Jalen Goyton in there. They've got our mate Josh Palmer to come along nicely. So they've got some like complementary pieces that could step in. But like as Brandon Staley, who I think has already shown that he's not Anthony Lynn and he's not any of the Chargers coaches for the past 5 years. I mean, if you go out and you call your QB a gangster quarterback, man, that's just exciting for fantasy. Like he's gonna let him, take the Tommy gun and fire. So yeah, Chargers for me.
Yeah, I like that. They're in my top three.
So who the Chargers?
It's good that they got the cap space because the Mike Williams in his contract year is a bit worrying. Depending, some teams say, mate, we could do with someone like that and just offer him some, boss deal that he just can't say no to. And the Chargers might have to match something, or they might just say, look, dude, you've done it 1 year that you've been here in a contract year, and do we trust you to be like that next year when you get paid? They know more than we do about what type of personality that he is. Who knows? But you'd like to think that he's now played with Justin Herbert now in his second year and seen what he does for him. That, mate, if I want to be great, I want to stay with this guy. This guy could make me great. So, the Keenan Allen, 29, you could go into a couple more years. But, as you would have found out this week, mate, when you hit a certain age group, you get out and there's a little bit more creaking in the old joints. And you're not even getting hit like he does every week.
Well, I've got every confidence in modern science to add a few years onto all these guys' career. So we'll see how that goes.
Mate, I'm still going to stick with my theory that one day someone is going to go and have the ligaments surgically enhanced so they don't tear. One day that's going to come along. Someone's going to go and get the ACL done with. I was going to say Kevlar, but whatever. Yeah, is it whenever they hold the bloody wheels on for Formula One cars when they crash at 300 kilometers an hour? You know, they're going to have all that surgically put in. So, mate, never going to have to worry about tearing an ACL, PCL, MCL, Achilles. It's not going to happen. One day someone will do it.
So I'll move unless AJ's got some thoughts there on his team.
Nice.
Aaron, you just had a thing.
Let's just move on.
Internet.
Yeah, it's
I'm having
terrible.
trouble with my internet, so I'm just trying to do some things in the background here. Just keep going.
Right, you move on, Ben. Who's your back-to-back, mate?
Well, I had two choices here, and I'm going to go with one that's probably not as obvious, but I'll explain why. And that's the LA Rams. I think that the Rams. I just feel like, you know, the last few years have taught the Rams a lot and taught McVay a lot about what he was missing, and that was his quarterback, 100%. Jared Goff wasn't up to it, and, you know, Matt Stafford has come in, and you've seen what he's done. You know, he's knocked off the world champions already. He's immediately connected with their receivers, and he's just set up there. You know, don't really care, you know, about how old he is. I think he's young enough that we can sort of assume that he's going to be a 4 or 5 year quarterback there. And this is their window coming up. This is, I think, the next sort of 4 or 5 years is the time that they're gonna want to potentially go for a couple of Super Bowls. Obviously, Cam Akers, when he does get back, will be a huge addition to the running back room, but Darrell Henderson's looked extremely serviceable as that kind of secondary quarterback. Sort of stunted into the league, but now looks pretty handy. Like, he's enough to keep that offense going on the ground. And then, I mean, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Jefferson, really, really talented three there that are going to spread the field and stretch the field. And Tyler Higbee's, you know, a pretty young quarterback as well. I think he's about, 26, 27.
Tight end, mate.
Yeah.
Is he throwing the football now? Mate, Tyler Higbee's 28.
Is he 28? All right. Well, that's young for a tight end. Look, I think all those guys are going to be there within 3 or 4 years. And my other point here is, I think you can see what the Rams are doing. Like, they haven't had a first round pick since 2017. They're operating a little bit differently. They're going out and looking at pieces year in, year out to, you know, top off their offense. Deshaun Jackson's a guy they brought in this year. You know, like, he could stay a year or two and do the same job. They'll probably then pick up somebody else who does a job like that. I just think they're being smart about the way they're running their football team. They're not banking on big draft capital like a lot of other teams. I mean, what's the point of the Falcons having two first round picks next year? Or like, it's not going to make a difference.
So we can get a quarterback.
Yeah, but I mean, you're a long way short of being on this list. So I just feel like the Rams have made some good choices around being relevant now and for the next few years.
So what do you call old age for a wide receiver? At what point do you start to look at them like out the corner of your eye?
Well, I think it's interesting.
Because Robert Woods is 20. I'm just having a look. He's 20. He's 29.
Yeah.
And I think Cooper Kupp's 28.
Yeah.
We just said that. What is he? He's 28. Might even turn 29 this year. I'm not too sure. So if we're talking 3 or 4 years' time, you're going to have a receiving core that's in the early 30s. Is really that what you want? Deshaun Jackson won't be there. He's 34.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that even though it's not, like I said, it's not an obvious choice because the guys aren't, 25, 26. What they are is they're all established guys who stay on the field, who are fantasy productive, and have been built into that offense to run out these next contracts. So a lot of these guys, have signed 4 or 5 year deals, and they're going to be relevant. It might be that the Rams go and keep trading their first round picks and adding like good options to supplement these guys.
Yeah, but at the moment, those guys are hearsay. Like, we have no idea what they're going to do, so we have to base it on the people that are on the park at the moment, because we have no idea what they're going to do.
Absolutely, and I think in the same way, G, it's like talking about cap space, isn't it? Like, it's relevant because
yes,
you can see. All right, well, here's a gap. This is where they need to fill it. So what I'm saying about the Rams is they don't do that. What they do is, here's a pick. Who's a guy we can go get to make us better? So
and we've seen the cap space has really helped teams. They've made really good decisions with all that money that they've got.
Well, exactly. Good point. So I just think that, like, they were probably, there's another team that I'd be interested to see if they come up in the next couple of picks. But there was another team that I would probably made more sense in terms of the age group and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I think that in 4 years, you'll be saying, these guys, are still productive, still got a good offense. And I mean, Matthew Stafford, if Tom Brady can sort of play till 42, I think Stafford's got a good 4 or 5 years in him, if not more, when he's 33.
Yep. Okay, so it's back to me. AJ, you got anything to say? Did you turn the light off in front of you so you get more power to your laptop?
I don't know what's going on with my internet, so we're just going to power on.
Yep. Okay, let's just skip AJ altogether. We don't usually use him anyway, really, do we? He just calls us in and breathes us out at the end of the show. All right, so it's back to me now. So I'm trying to think of maybe one of the teams that Ben was just talking about. I've got two on here that I really like. I've got two. Look, I'm going to go with the Broncos. Granted, I got Teddy, but Teddy's working for him at the moment. He really suits the way that they're playing football and the way the scheme's set up there in Denver. Mate, they've got Javonte Williams, who's looking a bit better every week as the season goes on. He's only 21. Melvin Gordon, he's doing his job. He's 28, but he's not going to be there in the time frame that I'm looking at in regards to this, what we've put together for this pod. You got Cortland Sutton, who's 25. You got Jerry Jeudy's 22. You got Noah Fant, who's 23. You've even KJ Hamlin, if you believe in him, he's only 22. Albert O, who I think is a great athlete. I think he's going to be a fantastic tight end. So you get Noah Fant and Albert O going in a couple of years' time when they really hit the tight end, prime. Just cross them off. No worries, Ben. And even throw in Tim Patrick. Mate, like, he's your number 3 wide receiver. Like, fantastic. So, it all comes down to the quarterback, obviously. Teddy's doing the job right now. Will he be the quarterback in the future? Don't know, and that's probably a little bit of the query I have on the foundation of this team. But, mate, outside of him, when you look at the other skill positions, mate, they are absolutely set, with the oldest guy being Cortland Sutton at 25. Good defense, always have a good defense. Always going to put the offense in a good position. Again, these are guys you can play in fantasy every week. They're starters for you every week. Tim Patrick, mate, he's a flex spot starter every week at the moment, especially with Jeudy out. But when Jeudy comes back, I'm sure after a couple of weeks he'll get rolling again. And the way that they're playing at the moment, and we saw what Teddy did with him the first couple of games, first game at least, and in pre-season, they're all very fantasy relevant. I reckon they've got a great future ahead of them, the Broncos. AJ, anything to say?
Yeah. Are you hearing me okay? It's just, it's very distracting. My video is so laggy.
Don't look at yourself.
I won't look at myself. Okay. It's a pity that they didn't fix quarterback Although, you could make an argument that who they've got throwing the ball is functional. He's okay, right?
Well, he's looking a hell of a lot better than the guy that everybody said they should have taken. They didn't.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, anyway.
For now. Yeah, for now. Yep.
Yes.
And all the guys they've picked in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. No, I like it a lot. I like it a lot, G.
Thank you. Ben?
Yeah, the only question, and they're on my list, as you saw me crossing them off with a tier, but it's just that health issue. Like they seem to, Sutton last year, Judy this year. I think Melvin Gordon's a free agent as well. So, is Javonte Williams a guy who can take the whole load? Fant's a guy who, we didn't really mention there, but who's kind of been hot and cold, a bit on and off the field as well. So my only question mark was about health, really. The talent's obviously there, but as you know, as we all probably know from our first round picks or second round picks from this year's fantasy, they're no good if they're on IR or they're not on questionable. That's my only issue with the Broncos.
Yeah, but health is one of those things that it's available. It's taken away from you every play that you're involved in, isn't it? Like, mate, I watch my fantasy guys. I'm sitting there going, get up, A's up. That's okay. I'm good. We're good. We're good to go again. It's just the course of the game. So AJ, you've got back to back, mate.
Sorry, just one little thing. One guy that I haven't really heard anything about, and I liked him coming out. He was actually on my list, and I think they ended up taking him in the 6th round out of Auburn. Seth Williams, wide receiver. He's on the practice squad, but he's a guy I think that might be elevating now. Judy's out, and I just think he's a guy as well who just a real athlete, a kind of guy who can come out of the backfield. They can use him in different ways. It'd be interesting to see if they start using someone like that, because the Broncos don't tend to do that. They don't tend to, use a wide receiver outside of a wide receiver position too much. So that'll be an interesting one. See if they can maybe get him on the field or add something like that.
I think it's going to be hard for him at the moment, just the way Tim Patrick's playing. So, and look, I think he's eligible to come back after week 5. Yeah. So whether or not he's ready, I'm not too sure. But after week 5, he could be back. So okay, AJ, you've got back to back, mate.
Back to back. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go. I don't think I've really hit this concept particularly well, but
what a surprise!
Which is an understatement.
4 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dallas Cowboys as my pick.
That was the other one I had. Damn it!
That was the other one I was going to give.
I think arguably better than my first pick, to be honest. Now that I've had a better time to reflect on it, because. Okay, so they've finally signed their quarterback. Dak is signed. He's a part of the team. CD Lamb. I mean, you can make an argument if we're talking about foundation. You can make some argument that in ways some things have kind of fallen into their lap. Like, have they really planned this out so well? Although you can certainly say that. In terms of them building their offensive line in particular, there was a lot of thought that went into doing that. But CD Lamb, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson is handy.
Michael Gallup.
Jarwin and Schultz are maddening because you never know which one to start. But from an NFL perspective, the pairing of Jarwin and Schultz is fine. Like, they do the job on the field. It's just from a fantasy perspective, you never know which one to start. And obviously,
it looks like Schultz is taking a bit of a
lead.
He obviously he's only 25, and he looks like he's the main pass catching guy. I think there now.
Yeah, he may well be. And look, I mean, the only regret that you might have organizationally is the big contract given to Zeke, which does kind of tie them up to some extent. And having a player like Tony Pollard in the wings, who I think undeniably is the best backup in football, or certainly best backup in fantasy, who is almost flex worthy. He's almost flex worthy. I'd say he's not quite, but he's very, very close to being startable in your fantasy team. I'd just say he just doesn't quite get enough reception. He gets very close. But I mean, the offense and you know, again, with like the pick of say Micah Parsons this year, who looks amazing, and they're playing him up on the line because of the injuries they've got on their defensive line at the moment. And, you know, who knows? Maybe they'll keep him there because he's playing so well. But he's such a good defensive player. I mean,
is he playing the offense now, is he?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just saying. Okay. But I think that, you know, that's a very exciting offense all across every position.
Yeah, you look at Dak 28. Zeke's he's only 26. So I believe he's only 26 years old. Mate, and look, if anybody wants me to talk anybody up or talk them down for the reverse, because everybody I spoke badly about last week tore it up, and everybody I talked up last week shat the bed. So if you got any fantasy guys you need to talk up, just let me know. Gallup's 25. Whether he's there next year or not, only Jerry knows. Cooper's 27. CD's 22. So like you said, Schultz is 25. So yeah, you know, there's plenty of years left. There's a good foundation there for years and years to come.
Yes, absolutely.
Great pick, AJ. I think we all should pick them earlier. So yeah.
Okay, so your second pick and your final pick, AJ.
Okay, well, look, this is it's getting a bit harder, really, isn't it? I hope it is, because I don't know how good this pick is, really.
Well, this is where you found the foundations are a little bit less stable. Maybe someone didn't put enough sand in the mix or enough cement in the mix, or they used a cheap Rio, not that good Australian iron ore against some other country stuff. But this is where we find ourselves now. Is it this sort of territory where there are holes?
Oh, there are definitely holes, and
maybe I give AJ a few more seconds to wrangle his decision here, because I think it's a good time to, since we just talked about the Cowboys, just check in on our Justin Jefferson CeeDee Lamb contest after 3 weeks. So
how's it going?
Currently, Justin Jefferson is the wide receiver 13. He's had 20 receptions on 30 targets, 254 yards and 2 TDs. And CeeDee Lamb is wide receiver 14. He's just behind, 18 catches on 27 targets for 251 yards, but only 1 touchdown. So absolute nothing between the two, really. Both obviously phenomenal guys who are really, really enjoying watching every week.
Mate, I only needed in the Scott Fish Bowl, I needed 11 points out of CeeDee Lamb. I thought, mate, lay down Mazzare. That's all I need to win.
Yeah.
I came 1.5 points short of winning.
And
to go 3 and zip.
He had that big catch that was down at the 1 yard line, right? So that's how close it was.
Could have done with that, because I've lost CNC for a couple of weeks. So to go 3 and 0 would have been really good start. Okay, so AJ, your second pick. Ben's giving you plenty of time.
Well, I'm essentially basing this pick on a couple of players in particular. And the first of, well, I'm going to pick the Carolina Panthers.
Damn it! It wouldn't have got to you anyway, Ben. It wasn't going to get to you, dude. Yeah, it's a good one.
Oh, good. Because DJ Moore, well, I mean, CMC is the obvious player to feature, but DJ Moore, I mean, here you've got a 24-year-old wide receiver. His stats on the year, he's 22 receptions for 285 yards and a touchdown from 31 targets. Mr. Reliable. You've got obviously CMC who's out at the moment. Sam Darnold, who, I mean, there's a lot that you could say about ex-Jets and, you know, Adam Gase and stuff. Maybe we won't go down that rabbit hole. But certainly,
you can say a lot about ex everywhere he's been.
Yes, but, you know, and I know we're only 3 weeks into this thing, but Sam Darnold is looking like a quarterback at this stage and could be a really foundational piece for this team. Certainly there are lots of gaps, and we sort of mentioned there's lots of gaps. I mean, I liked the Terrace Marshall pick this year. Obviously Robbie Anderson, they brought in. I don't think he's particularly been impressive, but
not at all. Hopefully Robbie Anderson's doing the reverse of what he usually does, is usually starts on fire, ends like crap. And this year he's starting like crap and he's going to burn in the second half.
That's right. And, you know, they've got issues at tight end. They can't find one, basically.
Well, they got little Tommy Tremble. That's not a very NFL-y name, is it? Tommy Tremble.
No, it's not. Yeah, it is. It is time for me to reboot the router, Chris. And I'm hanging in there because if I reboot, I think it might kick the feed off. So I'm just going to hang in and
just hang
power in. But yeah, look, I think lots of nice pieces, and I think an organization may be moving in the right direction.
And look, like you said, Darnold's now become, you know, in a 2 QB league, definite starter. Maybe not a 1 yet, but definitely a 2. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, with the injury, with the hamstring. Chubba Hubbard. I'm going to call him Chubba Hubbard. Looked great last week when he took over. He's only 22. Like I said, DJ Moore's 24. Terrence Marshall, obviously, had 21 as a rookie. Yeah, the foundation's good, and they've got a quarterback that's really rocking and rolling at the moment. So, nice pick, AJ. That was on my list. So, okay, now this is where we really start to, mate. Like, comes a point, I think, Ben, because AJ's left us, so I'll just talk to you.
No, I'm still here.
Are you still here?
Yeah.
So what do we start looking at? Do we go now with the main foundation, which I suppose in the building is the Rio? Really, without Rio, the building's going to collapse no matter how much concrete you put in there. So is the quarterback the Rio, and then you just sort of build the concrete around it, and then you start looking at, okay, do we go, okay, Patrick Mahomes, mate, best iron ore Rio you can buy, okay? But then you look at, you look at his offense and you look at the age of Kelsey and Mecole Hardman really hasn't stepped up. We know what Tyreek Hill is, but are you going to build a foundation around 2 guys? They've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so there's 3. Or do you go, okay, I want all the other pieces and maybe we can put together a quarterback or find someone from somewhere. So I've sort of gone more concrete than Rio. I'm going to go Barley. I'm going to go a Barley built place. If you take Ben out of the equation, if you look at what the Steelers have, they've obviously got Najee Harris, who's just, mate, everything's been put on his shoulders at the moment because Ben looks absolute. Mate, he's shot, he's gone. Just, mate, give someone else a go. Give Haskins a go. Like, can it be any worse? Can it seriously be any worse? I don't think it can be. He looks so old out there in the way he moves. You
saw the clip where he just fell down. Like he was scrambling to his right. He like took one step and then he just sort of like there wasn't a defensive player in 10 yards.
Mate, the Zimmer frame. He was reaching for his Zimmer frame, couldn't reach it, moved on the bloody, on the polished floorboards. Down he went. Do you get Mason Rudolph? Well, we know what Mason Rudolph is, but you can't put this much on Najee Harris. But there's a great foundational point. We've got Juju, who's only 24. It seems like he's been in the league for so long now. He's only 24 years old. Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, 25, Claypool, 23. Even James Washington is a very certain mate as a number 4 wide receiver at 25. Pat Fryman scored a touchdown on the weekend. He's a first-year tight end. This is going to take a couple of years, but
he's looked good though. He's got a lot of snap shares. People think they've got Eric Ebron there. They've got some.
Mate, don't even throw the ball to Eric Ebron because I don't think he caught anything that was thrown his way. He's gone back to Edward Scissorhands on the weekend.
I think Freiermuth. I think you're looking at him as probably one of the next top 4 tight ends that you're going to be drafting at the fantasy position in the next couple of years. He looks like he can do everything, and certainly what he showed so far. I think he's only dropped one tackle out of his however many. I was reading that the other day. They haven't gone to him loads, but when they have, he's caught the damn thing and he's obviously scored a touchdown as well.
Yeah. So I've sort of gone the foundation without the Rio there, in the hope that maybe, hey, Aaron Rodgers is available next year. But that'd be the best receiving core he's ever had, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't even be close, would it? Probably.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's all sky in the pie dreams, isn't it? But I've gone concrete over the old steel in the structure. But I'll take the Steelers just based on everything else except obviously the most important position on the team, which is quarterback. So, mate, bring us home.
Well, I mean,
is AJ there? No, he's muted himself.
Yeah,
I'm here.
Oh, he's here. Oh, he's back. Damn it. Damn it.
I mean, I feel like I've missed something here, and I feel like I'm about to draft Tom Brady late in the NFL draft. I think I've found a bit of a diamond in the rough here. You talk about concrete, G. Let's go to the hard men in the hard town, where if you build it, it stays through the snow, the wind, the rain. Stand on those terraces in all weather. Let's go to Buffalo.
That was the last team. That was the other team on my list.
I mean, I don't think I've been more certain about fantasy production from a quarterback than Josh Allen. I mean, he, not only does he have weapons through the air, and we've seen what that arm can do. I mean, if you think about his receivers, and there's obviously, a bit of a gap. I think we can have, and that's why we probably didn't take them. Like, obviously, Stephon Diggs, still only 27. I mean, you'd accept that as young enough to be there in 5 years as an elite receiver. Gabriel Davis, I'm a big fan of. I think he showed some really good things in the red zone, particularly last year. Can kind of work those intermediate to longer routes. But he's still only 22, and I think that's one thing. I think he probably was one of those guys that should have stayed in college another year and maybe got a bit more season. But he'll come as a nice kind of wide receiver, probably 2-3, depending on his things. So they still probably need a wide receiver too, I think.
Because Sanders is killing his production at the moment. Any chance of his production.
And and that's fair enough. Like they know that they've got a team that could go to the Super Bowl, right? So that's why they brought in Sanders. That's why they've got Cole Beasley as well, still just knocking out the 7 or 8 receptions a game from the slot. Like they just want to win football games and get to the Super Bowl. So there's no reason though that they they still have first-round picks. The Brandon Bean up there does a hell of a job with their cap. That they'll go out and make a splash for, a big receiver again, probably next year. And the guy who's probably, emerging at tight end is Dawson. Only 24. Has got a lot of potential. I think what probably harms the position there is that tight end's probably the last in that offense, right? And because Allen's your goal line back, and as well. And to be honest, like we talked last week about how I think you mentioned it, how Swift and Williams in Detroit kind of combo, right? Like fantasy wise, it might not be a nailed on. You start that guy every week. But Singletary and Moss look like they're the similar kind of, deal. And I think that some weeks Singletary will take a bit of a backseat like he did last week. But I mean, Zach Moss has got 4 touchdowns in the first 3 games, and 3 of them have been receiving touchdowns. I don't think any of us thought that would be the case. No. So that's points to a progression again, and a talented play calling as well. I mean, Brian Dable for me is, one of the top 3 or 4 play callers in the league. So, I just think they're set up there to win games in all the kind of ways you can win games.
And look, everybody pretty much wrote Devin Singletary off before the start of the season, really, in fantasy. And he's looked really good. Yeah. He's moving fantastically. I think he's surprised a fair few people at the moment, especially he has to be where he got taken in drafts. He was that late. But yeah, like you said, Zach Moss is doing Zach Moss things.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good pick. That was on my list. So that's 3 apiece. So let's have a look who we got. Our foundation. We got AJ's got Arizona, Dallas, and the Panthers.
Oh, that's quietly good, that, isn't it?
Arizona. We'll see.
Well, if I picked Dallas instead of Arizona first, it probably would have looked a bit better.
Yeah, you've done a Chucky. You've taken the first round, the second round guy in the first round, and vice versa.
That's right.
But Ben's got the Chargers, the Rams, and the Bills, which are all talent now. We have to come back and do this pod in 4 years' time and see where we're all at. And I have the Bengals, the Broncos, and the quarterbackless Steelers.
That's the only player I respect on Southampton.
Now, the question I've got for you is, which teams are still on your list that we didn't mention?
Well, I didn't have Bills just went, so they were on my list. So I only had one left.
I've only got one left as well.
Yeah, but I've only got so I've got the Ravens.
Oh, I didn't have those. Yeah.
Just with Lamar, he's only 24 years of age, and they're just going. I think that pretty much this is our offense for the future. This is how we play. So,
and listen,
J.K. Dobbins. Yeah,
I was going to say they've got Dobbins and Gus Edwards still.
Yeah. Dobbins, Gus Edwards.
Yeah.
Look, Brown had a really off night the other night. He's only 24. Rashad Bateman, we haven't seen yet, but I'm pretty high on him. There's a lot of people who are coming out of college. Tylan Wallace, 22, who knows? And Mark Andrews is only 26. I left them off until last because there's a lot of other teams on here, but some teams are missing. I tried to do it when I put it together. I tried to do it across the board at every position, try to get a young group of guys who could grow together. That's how I put it together. And that's why I left the Ravens off, because I just not sold on them as a unit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Going forward. Fair. So, who'd you have, Ben? Who was the last team you had?
I don't want to say.
You don't want to.
Not that I have a reputation to protect, but it's more the endorsement of how they've built it. But let's go back to Chucky, shall we? I had the Raiders. I just thought, no matter what people, I think we're 4 years in, are we, to the 10-year experiment here, or is it an experiment? I don't know. In Las Vegas, and look, Derek Carr has survived, which I think I'm actually surprised about. But certainly this year so far, he's kind of shown a bit more, bit more nastiness, bit more grit between his teeth to go and get it done. He's only 30. I mean, for a quarterback, I think that's young. And I think he's still got a lot of yards in him. Josh Jacobs is only 23. I think everybody seemed to be off him in the offseason. And, obviously he's got some injury issues, of course. But, let's put those aside. And if he can get healthy and lead this offense in the backfield, then I think that's promising. I mean, yeah, I know, G, that Henry Ruggs needs to show more and win the game.
We can't win, we just get relegated, don't we?
Saw a lot of catches last week. Brian Edwards,
if we have to,
probably a guy who.
So we just get automatically relegated, or we have to play the rest of the game.
And the only one that obviously is a bit older is Darren Waller. He's 29. Let's knock off a couple of years. He's still got tread in the tires. So I'm going to take that as a bit of cash back, and he can add those on to the end of his career.
Yeah, but the amount of ball that he's getting, mate, he's just put those 3 years of unused tread on the last 3 years, mate. He's just getting absolutely hammered, isn't he?
He's going down the highway in third gear, isn't he? He's just been burning.
I did look at the Raiders. Derek Carr bothered me. The fact that the age of Darren Waller, where they're going to be in 3 or 4 years' time, Ruggs is like that slow-moving lava that's happening in the Canary Islands at the moment. You can see it sort of building, but it's slow. But mate, I don't know what his targets are, Ben. Maybe you got him there, but it looks as though they're targeting him a hell of a lot more this year in the first 3 games. Brian Edwards, well, I'm a fan, but I just don't know. Just don't know. So it was all those little bits that sort of I don't know.
Yeah.
That stopped me from picking him.
Ruggs is wide receiver 17, so only 11 catches though on 20 targets, so 237 yards and a touchdown. So he's still probably, you could label him more of a deep threat rather than anything else.
A big play guy, yeah.
But G, you've got to think that. I mean, that's a hell of a lot better than we probably thought he was going to be after 3 weeks. And he looks to be involved.
Yes.
Offense much more. As does Edwards. And it makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what if they still had Amari Cooper there? Actually, that was the biggest mistake they made, letting him go, I think. But they're still obviously a long way short of that. All the teams we've talked about, there's been one receiver that you've just been like, oh, forget about it. He's nailed on wide receiver 1. Don't even think about it. Let's move on. That has been a trouble. Whereas that was the only thing that bothered me about the Raiders was 0, lead receiver. And if you're going to go to a Super Bowl, as we've seen the last few years, you probably need 2, right? You need Godwin and Evans. You don't 1 and then 3 guys who are kind of 2, 3, depending on the week.
Yeah, no, that's all the things like you just mentioned. Then that just I hovered the mouse over them a couple of times to put him in, but I just couldn't do it. Just still too many unknowns. Even looking into the future. So AJ, did you have anybody else, or you had no idea of the concept what we're doing anyway? So you probably had no one. Is he there? I don't even think he's there, Ben. How do we stop this thing? How do we cancel it? How do we just round it out? So on behalf of Ben and myself,
hang on.
He's back. Here we go. Thank God.
Well, I'm just hanging in so I can reboot every electronic device in the house. So.
Okay. Now, some other teams that I did look at, like someone would say, "What about the Cleveland Browns?" With that, mate, look at the wide receivers are definitely at the end of the careers. More, not far past the middle part. And they're the only ones. Green Bay, obviously, like if Rodgers is not going to be there next year. Washington. Don't know, no quarterback. So there ended up being a lot of teams was just they had bits of the other team I did look at, I must admit, was maybe the Seahawks. But then again, the running backs getting up there and so is Tyler Lockett. But I think Tyler Lockett will be around for another 4 years the way that guy. He looks like he's the way he plays without doubt. But they're just just some of the other teams I looked at, but just hovered the mouse over it and just moved on.
Well,
that's it, AJ.
All right. I actually did a little list of 3 teams that I thought should be in this list. For reason, like based on the last few years. I think the first one, pretty obvious, the Indianapolis Colts.
Nice.
Got a lot of cap space over the last few years. They've always had lots of cap space, and
I'm confused.
They've drafted Taylor. They've drafted Michael.
Look, I didn't know. It was Van Dyke.
But you just think the trade for Wentz looks bad.
I didn't remember. I've never said that.
They haven't. They don't look like they're near
replacing. I didn't know it was Pickford.
T.Y. Hilton.
I had no clue it was Pickford.
I mean, I just think, as much as I think that team gets, Chris Ballard as the GM gets a lot of love.
This is the Colts at the moment. This is how I see the Colts.
Yeah.
So, and sorry, Memphis.
Yeah, I just think they should have done a better job about being, I think, near or roundabouts by now. Yeah. The second one was the Miami Dolphins, and it was the team I kind of considered for a while. I think they've done some good things. Their receivers, I think, look like they're going to hit, but there's too many questions. There's questions about the quarterback. There's questions about the running back long term. I think Gaskin's fine, but I don't think he's going to be. You don't see him leading a team to the Super Bowl if he needs to. There's questions at tight end. Gesicki's, doesn't seem he's a first round pick. Doesn't seem to should be a focal point. Was he second? Yeah, second. High pick anyway. Doesn't really seem to be a focal point.
I must admit though, when they're in trouble, they seem to use him a hell of a lot more than anybody else.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like they're probably anywhere near.
Devontae Parker's become Devontae Parker.
Again, reverted back to Devontae Parker. And then the other one, you could say both New York teams have enough chances to try and get nearer, the middle rather than the bottom. But I'm going to go with, the 49ers. I just, particularly from a fantasy point of view, there's not, every single week, the main guys that I own in that offense are Samuel, and I picked up a fair bit more of Ayuk this year, who's been an absolute, obviously, travesty so far, being in the doghouse. But I think, Deebo Samuel's the only guy you feel confident about starting in a position there.
George?
I want to say George Kittle. I think he'll be a top 5 receiver tight end this year. But missed games again last year. I just think the way that he plays, he's not going to put full seasons in. He doesn't seem like he's like Travis Kelce built. He seems like he's 12 games a season built, if you know what I mean. So I think, I'm worried that when they have to go to him, he's going to be double teamed because they don't have a number one like a wide receiver who's like going to dominate on the outside. So I don't think they're far away. The running back situation is always going to be an issue for fantasy in terms of Kyle Shanahan. So that's hard. And the quarterback, well, yeah, no idea. So they were just three teams that I was surprised that I didn't end up putting in when I looked at, everything.
And Brandon Ayuk dropped a touchdown on the weekend.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I wonder why. It was a bullet from like within 10 yards, mate, and he doesn't have the hands. He doesn't have the hands for, mate. I'll keep saying it. And he dropped a touchdown. I think it was this weekend. Or was it last weekend? Jeez, maybe I'm getting my games confused. But it was a dart, and his hands aren't good at close range. He's just not. So anyway, there we go. That's it. Done. Finished. Wrapped up.
Well done, guys. All right. Well, some cracking games coming up this week. Hope you enjoy the evolving NFL season. Week 4. Hard to believe we're getting into week 4.
And now 4 a.m. 4 a.m. now, guys, as well.
Oh, yes. Woohoo.
Yes. Daylight savings.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I'm still not getting up. I actually got up last at 2:45 last week just to make sure a few guys were questionable, just to make sure they were on the park. So,
well, that's about halfway through your leg routine, isn't it? In the gym, there, mate.
Don't do legs, mate. Don't do legs. No one sees legs, mate. You cover them up. You wear pants. No one sees it. No one sees it. I don't go to the beach.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. I am looking forward to rebooting my router and my computer, but that has been fantastic. You guys have carried us tonight, but thank you very, very much, and hope you've enjoyed it. Week 4, as I said, week 4 NFL action. Chargers, Raiders, Monday Night Football. Yeah. Chargers coming off a fantastic win over the Chiefs. How do you like it? So that's a big one.
Yeah, that was a big win. That
was huge.
AJ, are you going to have to throw your two jerseys together down the middle? Is
only one jersey. I've only got one jersey. Don't worry. But yeah, that's going to be a fantastic game. Actually, I really look forward to it. And yeah, lots of games. It seems like there's lots of games on the slate that are really, really interesting this week for sure, and every week.
The Falcons are going to go back to back. They're going to go back to back this week.
Who's that?
Washington.
The
Falcons. Yes.
Woohoo.
Washington. Yeah. So, if someone could let me know why you draft a guy number 4 overall and don't throw the ball to him, that'd be great. I'd like to know. We've got enough.
Well, there's lots of problems. And that's the biggest one.
And Brady against the old club, New England. So that's going to be very. And that's in New England too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Ooh, that's going to be a good one to watch.
So there's some discussion about what the reaction of the fans is going to be with him coming back into Foxborough.
Mate, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure, but
respect, mate. Respect.
It's definitely going to be one to watch.
Well, you'll find out a lot more about the Patriots fans depending on what they do. You find the real character of the people, won't you?
Yeah. That's right. And I must say, someone made a comment about the Chargers-Raiders game. This is one of the things that I am very disappointed about. But the Chargers-Raiders game on Monday Night Football is a Chargers home game, but invariably the stadium will be black and silver. You can bet on it. And there was a moment.
What's changed since you left San Diego, dude?
Well, no, it's worse. It is worse. There's no doubt it's worse. There was a moment when the Chargers were in the Chargers-Cowboys game, and the Chargers were on offense, and you could hear all this crowd noise, and you could hear defense, defense. And I was thinking, hang on a second. What the hell is going on? And when they panned round the stadium, it was mostly Cowboys fans. Like, seriously,
Mate,
it was mostly Cowboys fans.
How are you still talking about this since the move to LA? Why are you still on this?
What do you mean?
Well, mate, it's been the same since you moved to LA.
I know. It's just
every home game's an away game.
It's absolutely hard.
Well, who gives a shit, mate, when you're kicking everybody else's ass on the park? Who cares?
I guess, but it's like all the Chargers are going to play 17 away games.
Mate, I couldn't give a shit if no one yelled when the Falcons scored a touchdown and they won every game. I couldn't, as long as they won, I don't care who's cheering or not cheering.
Fair call.
But yeah, it is a bumper slate across like the Browns and the Vikings. That's a good matchup, I think.
Yep.
Two heavy run games there, and also the NFC West play each other. So the 49ers against the Seahawks and the Rams against the Cardinals. They'll
nice.
Be two factors as well.
Very nice. All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks very much, gents. On behalf of G, Ben, and myself, have a fantastic week. Enjoy the NFL this week, and we'll catch you next time. Catch you later.